Hello, YouTube. Now, in continuing with our history lessons, if you will, I'm going to be talking about Sony and their entrance into the game industry. Now, before I actually talk about their consoles and the consoles that they made and so on and so forth, I want to talk to you on how they actually got started. Originally, Nintendo had come up to them with the proposition of a joint project of their first CD console. Well, Nintendo's first CD console. So they planned to release one together because I guess Nintendo didn't know how to make disc-based games or disc-based hardware. So they went to Sony, who knows what they're doing, considering they own the rights to CDs. Or at least part of the rights to CDs. So they kind of went, okay, let's make something together. Now, of course, Nintendo, being Nintendo, was like, no, we don't really like this idea, or, there was just a lot of arguing back and forth, and nothing was getting done. So finally, Sony said, screw you guys, I'm going home. And that's what they did. Sony went home. And then they came out with the PlayStation 1 on December 3rd, 1994. Of course, that is the Japanese release date. It would not hit North American shores till 1995. Its launch price, of course, was $299.99, $100 more than anything Nintendo had on the market, or ever would have on the market. Interesting fact, Nintendo's consoles have never been over $249.99. $249.99 would be Nintendo's highest price point to date. But on to Sony. Yes, they released the PlayStation 1 for $299.99, which was $100 cheaper than the Sega Saturn, which released only 4 months prior to that. So, once again, kind of a bargain deal here. Of course, the PlayStation 1 would go on to sell 104.25 million units worldwide and would hold the record for most consoles sold for quite some time. It would hold that record, but it would be broken later, but we'll find out what it was broken by soon enough. Its highest selling game was not Final Fantasy VII. It was Gran Turismo at 11.15 million units worldwide, and the PlayStation 1 would be discontinued in 2009, but that would be the PS1 model, which was released in 2000. Yes, 4 years before Sony finally kind of chopped the head off of the PlayStation 1, because the PlayStation really stopped producing games in about the year 2004, they released the PS1 model, which was that tiny little model that I've never seen ever, except for the one my cousin had. Everyone else has the big one, including myself. So, not sure where that one went. But, regardless, PlayStation 1, the year 1994 to 2009, that's a long lifespan. Now, note, it was discontinued in Japan in 2009. I believe it was discontinued in North America when they chopped the head off of games for the PlayStation 1, which was 2004. Onward to their next console, the PlayStation 2, which released in 2000 and is currently still being manufactured, because I still see these things in Walmarts everywhere. And, of course, its original price point, $299.99. I don't know why I originally thought it was $499.99, but nevertheless, $299.99 was the price point for it. So another $300 console, once again, still higher than everybody else at this time. The Dreamcast, $199. The GameCube, $199. The N64, not $199. I think it might have been $99 at that point, if my memory serves me correctly. The Xbox, I don't know the starting price point, but it may have been $299 as well. But the point is, at the time of the year 2000, Sony once again releases a console that is more expensive. But here's the killer to why it outsold the Dreamcast and made the Dreamcast look like it was nothing. DVD playback, or playability. whatever you want to call it. It could play DVDs. All its games were on DVDs. So, if the Dreamcast had DVDs, Sony might have not have been as successful as they were, and we might still have Sega, and we might still have Sony today too. But with Sony's console having DVD playback, it flew off the shelves in Japan because DVDs hadn't caught on yet in Japan. But thanks to the PlayStation 2, they were flying off the shelves, and the rest of the story, as the PlayStation 2 would go on to sell 154.4 million units worldwide as of this day. Its highest selling game would be Grand Theft Auto San Andreas at 20.81 million units worldwide. And, of course, we now know who broke the PlayStation 1's record for selling the most console. It was its little brother, if you will, the PlayStation 2. Now, in 2004, Sony entered the handheld market. Nintendo hasn't had a lot of competition for quite some time, because they ruled that market. But Sony was like, Nintendo, you're going down. So in 2004, at a price point of $249.99, the PlayStation Portable was released. Now, granted, it didn't kill the DS. As a matter of fact, the DS sold twice as much throughout its lifespan, and the PSP didn't even outsell the Game Boy Advance. And I mean the regular Game Boy Advance. But it's getting close because they haven't stopped manufacturing them, and it is still currently selling. So there is a chance that they could break the Game Boy Advance's record, but not the... I don't see them breaking the Nintendo DS. The Nintendo DS currently holds the second place for most consoles ever sold, with just under 3 million of the PS2. But back to the PSP and Sega's history. Or, not Sega, but Sony's history. So, the PSP would go on to sell 74.52 million units worldwide. Its highest selling game would be Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories at 7.36 million. And it's now priced in the UK at $100, and it is priced over here in North America at $139.99. Still, I believe. Maybe a price drop would be coming soon. But, yes, that is the story of the PSP. A mildly successful, I'd say it'd be a success. And that brings us to the PlayStation 3, which could be Sony's last hurrah at this point, though they are doing much better than they were when they launched. Of course, the system launched in 2006 at a price point of $599.99 for the 60 gig model and $499.99 for the 20 gigabyte model. And here's where Sony's downfall is. Yes, $599 and $499. Sony's highest price points they've ever gone in their history. Remember, they've only gone about $300 per system, and even then they were still the highest consoles on the market at the time. Well, with the Wii coming out that same window at literally less than half the price, because the Wii was $249.99, you could see where people would go, Now, granted, the Xbox the Xbox 360 came out a year earlier and was still cheaper unless you wanted everything. Because if you wanted wireless internet, that's $100, and if you wanted the Xbox Live, that was another $60, or actually $70, because it's $59.99 plus tax. So $70, $170, and then you wanted the DVD or HD DVD, that was going to cost you extra money. So if you wanted everything that this 360 came with, it would cost you more money than a PS3. But considering those were optional, like you had the option to get Xbox Live or not, you had the option to get the wireless adapter or not, you had the option of getting the HD DVD player. Whereas Sony, it was like, you don't have the option to not get some of this stuff. It's all in the package. So that was kind of their downfall with that price point. However, the PS3 has gone on to sell, to this day, 64.68 million units worldwide, and its highest selling game, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at 11.89 million units worldwide. Yes, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is the highest selling game on the PS3 at the moment, but I don't see anything changing there. We then got the PlayStation Vita, released in Japan in 2011, and in North America in February 22nd, 2012, at $299.99. The PlayStation Vita has gone on to sell 2.14 million units worldwide, and its highest selling game is Uncharted Golden Abyss at 580,000 units sold worldwide. Now at this point, the PlayStation Vita is not doing as well as Sony has hoped. However, it may be doing better than the 3DS did at its starting price point, as it took some time for the 3DS to pick up speed once it dropped its price by $80. Whether Sony will see tremendous success with the PlayStation Vita when they drop the price down is unknown at this point, but if it's any indication like its older brothers, the PlayStation Vita could see tremendous success, as 4 out of the 5 consoles Sony has released are in the top 10 selling consoles of all time, the PlayStation 2 being in first place, the PlayStation 3 being in 4th, the PlayStation Portable being in 7th, and of course the PlayStation 3 being in 9th. It is an impressive feat that Sony has been able to pull this off, with almost all their consoles being in the top 10, and it will be a sight to see if they can pull all their consoles into the top 5, though it's not looking like that at this point. I hope you have enjoyed this look back on Sony's console history, and don't forget there is Sega's console history and Nintendo's console history on the channel as well, and I will see you all next time here on YouTube.